Welcome to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 354 of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be discussing Bone Tomahawk, a name with a title almost as sharp as Kurt Russell's jaw. I'm the editor-in-chief over at bloodygoodhorror.com. Joining me tonight, first up, my muse, my partner in this life. He is back and his name is John Schnars.
Thought you were going to Evan there. You're
also, Schnars, the business manager of Bloody Good Horror, but it seems like the least important title of all those things. So,
no, that's true.
Next up on the show, he writes horror fiction, coming to us from Indiana, United States of America. His name is Casey.
How y'all doing?
Casey, you got a sweet fire engine red beard going on there, buddy.
I do.
Nice.
It's got some gray in it, too. You can't see it on the camera, but...
I was going to say, the light is doing you favors then.
It is.
Next up on the show, 2015, the year where his website making game was on fleek. He is the head development person of Bloody Good Horror, and his name is Mark.
Hi. I'm just the guy that shovels the coal that keeps the engine running.
They added on fleek to dictionary.com this year, Mark.
Did they?
It's an official thing.
Did they add just fleek or the combination of the words on fleek?
On fleek.
it's got to be
Fleek,
used together.
comma, on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know what off fleek means, so that makes sense.
And last up here tonight on the show, one of the founding members of BGH, the new class. Tonight we'll be calling him Better Joe. His name is Evan.
Oh, I feel like that's not an appropriate title because I don't think anything's better than Joe.
How about Nicer Joe? You're like Joe, but less belligerent and angry.
Maybe.
So not like Joe at all, really. And you don't drink.
That's true. I don't know.
You're like Joe in that you're nothing like him.
You're basically the exact opposite. So you guys are really similar.
You're like Joe
Right.
in that as I look at our video chat here, you are occupying the spot he's normally in. How's that?
So yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. We are here tonight, as mentioned, to talk about Bone Tomahawk, what you might call a horror western.
I would go Western horror. That's just me.
Well, yeah, yes, okay, yeah. It's also like a walking simulator. we can get to that later. John Schnars,
It was kind of like Oregon Trail, the movie.
we are coming in hot here to the end of
Christ.
2015, and when that happens, couple things go along with it. First up, we have now officially planned our shows through the end of the year. Mark,
Yes.
Mark, do you want to walk us through that quick, and then we'll pass it over to Hair Schnars?
You gotta give me a little bit of warning.
Damn it.
I have it pulled up.
I don't have it memorized yet.
So we are coming up. We've got 5 shows left by my count. And that's like, we don't have the exact dates, but we're going by, like, we count by Fridays because we think about the new releases. We've only got one new release. That's Krampus 12/4. Because, and we're making this announcement right here on the show, we have decided to forego seeing Victor Frankenstein.
Wah, wah,
Yeah.
wah. Believe me, my heart is heavy with this decision.
The
But
horror cred on that one is dicey.
well, it's like
it's Dracula Untold, I guess. That's so,
here's the two like arguments though. Is I think that on some level those shows are kind of our bread and butter. I think that people enjoy when we go review just fucking terrible movies that nobody would have ever in their right mind go pay to see in a theater.
Mm-hmm.
But we also, as our sort of continuation of our self-betterment project here at Bloody Good Horror this year, are trying to take our year-end
Which
list.
we really only decided we were doing like a week
2 days ago. We're trying to take our year-end list a little more seriously, and in doing so, we're trying to kind of catch up on the money movies of 2015 that our listeners and specifically our patrons are telling us, you guys have to see this. It's definite top 10 material. So that's why we had to kick Frankenstein out. We figured we want to actually kind of try to, hey, nobody's perfect. We're not going to nail it, but we're trying to be a little more thorough with our investigation of
Yeah.
horror.
So 4 shows, and then our end of the year show. We've got coming up in this order: The Final Girls, Last Shift. That's the week after Thanksgiving, because we are going to get Final Girls in before Thanksgiving next week. Krampus, week of 12/4, or that's the Friday, so it'll be that first full week in December. And then Hellions is the week of 12/11, and then we're going to hit the big shebang, the big mother. So, yeah, it should
What's
be an
the big
interesting
mother?
run.
Please don't hit the big
You're
mother.
gonna hit my mom?
Yeah, what's going on?
Are your moms that big? I thought this was like the mother of all shows. Is
Kathy
what I
Newell
was
is a
referring
fucking
to.
saint, John. Watch your mouth.
I was gonna say I've met Newell's mom, and she's very small. She's
Yeah.
just tiny.
Least shocking revelation of the year.
yeah. So
Oh, shit.
Hellions will be the final sort of feature film discussion,
Yeah.
and then
Papa Newell, only slightly taller.
barely.
He's a little taller. He's closer to
John.
like average human size.
What would you say your opinion is on me preemptively putting Krampus at number 1, even though I haven't seen it
I
yet?
think that's fair.
No, like I did. I think I mentioned this maybe to Mark. I can't remember who it was. Yeah, it was probably Mark, because he joined us on the most recent Sophistical, which is coming soon. But
oh, yeah. I
and-
did do that, didn't I?
and we were talking year-end lists kind of off air, and I have Krampus penciled in right now as well, which I feel a little weird about, but I'm doing it anyway.
I mean, if let's say it's amazing and makes a lot of top 5s or even top 10s, that's 2 years in a row where our top 10 lists go full Keckner.
Yeah.
Well, Keckner.
Yeah, David Keckner. Last year was Cheap Thrills.
He's the real spoiler in the
Pooping on
BGH.
floors.
He's coming on strong here.
I've been re-exploring season 8 of The Office. Todd Packer in the house. Todd F. Packer.
I can't wait
Be
till
more
Krampus
specific.
comes out and it turns out it stinks and Mark's heartbroken and goes
Well,
back.
here-
and
here's my
photoshops
thing
Chris
is
Santa
we've got-
hats on
we've-
all of the trolls and troll jargon.
No.
We've gone over my dislike for Trick or Treat, so in the back of my head, I do have to keep thinking like, this is the Trick or Treat guy.
Nope. Usually I reserve. I try to not get excited about things, but I'm going full in. So it's going
When
to be a
have you
good
ever
episode.
not gotten excited about something?
I mean, it happens.
Eric, it's almost Christmas. Do you want to get up?
There's been a time. Oh.
Hey,
No, it's-
Schnars.
Yes.
How do you put those year-end lists together?
Oh god, the year-end list is going to be fun. We're going to have a good
Math.
show. We're kicking around some ideas for the show itself, for some stuff maybe around the show. Maybe Eric wants to talk about that later. I don't know.
I have
But
no idea what you're talking about, but let's wing it.
in terms of putting the list together, everybody who writes for the site, which I'm going to guess we're up to 14 sort of like qualifying writers right now. Mark, maybe you know. It's either 14 or 15. Everyone
I thought
gets
you were going to
about-
say qualified writers, like some of them
No,
are
no.
not qualified to be writers.
There are 20, but only
Qualifying.
We're not going to
14,
say
actually.
who.
I mean, most of them are.
but you know
qualified.
who you
Yeah.
are. It's Joe.
But anyone,
Also, we should
everyone
announce
gets
this on air. We have a new writer. John is
we do?
is he? Yeah, we do.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Is
Dude,
he
he's been-
qualified?
he's been in the Slack channel for like 3 whole days.
You know,
Eric.
I did see
Ew.
someone's name that I didn't recognize, and I was like, I wonder who that dude is.
You don't know this. I just randomly invite people in every now and then to scare the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Eric's like, who's this creeper? So John will probably wait, is it John? Is that his name too?
It's Jason with a
Oh,
Y.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Jason.
Jason?
Jason. Yeah. He's gonna need to get some articles out if he wants to get a ballot, but he'll probably get one no matter what.
This is like he has to prove he has a job so he can get.
Yeah,
entry
he's got to be
into
a
the-
qualifying writer, is what I'm saying.
He can,
he already had a review.
He
He's ready
can
to go.
have a top 10 list once he goes through the normal hazing ritual like everyone else.
Okay.
Are you gonna actually post mine this year, John?
Yeah. Oh, come on.
Is that a thing?
I don't
The first year he posted it after everyone else's because he forgot, and then last year I just didn't get it posted.
What?
Stop.
Schnars.
You sent me one and I didn't post it.
Yes.
Come here.
What the hell, John?
3 years, guys. 3
Yeah,
years.
I feel bad. All right.
Nobody
this-
puts my baby in the
sorry.
corner.
Evans is going first this year, and no, so everybody supplies a list, but there's like a ballot, and basically everyone's gonna go rank 1 through 10, and then I do some spreadsheet stuff to it, and we come out
Tell
with
me
an
more about
aggregate-
spreadsheets. How do macros work? That has always mystified me.
Macros.
Yeah. I don't need to mess with that. We're gonna go pretty straightforward here. But we do come out with a sort of aggregate top 10 list for the site, and we reveal it here live on the show. I think I actually keep it secret from all you guys too, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. So it'll be fun. No, the thing we were talking about, I think Joe threw it out in our email thread earlier this week, is making that live stream freely available for everyone, not just our patrons.
Fun.
Yeah. Which I thought
You
would
can
be
see what you're missing out on.
We're going
Yeah, I like that
full
idea.
commie.
Live.
us and Bernie Sanders.
You know
man.
what I hate, Schnars? When you're like in Excel and you just want to type a number, right? Like say 29, and then you hit enter, and then it says Feb 9, and you're like, "Fuck, no! I just want 29," so you delete it. Mystified.
Yeah. All right. That's pretty easily solved. We can
Okay,
cover that. off
Can we powwow offline about that
Yeah.
and kind of go
Yeah.
over it? All right.
You know what really
Great.
grinds Eric's gears?
You know what grinds my gears? Excel macros. Formatting, am I right?
Yeah. It's tricky.
What else do we have to talk about tonight before we talk about Kurt Russell's jaw?
I mean, those were
That's
the
a
things we
lot of
talked about before.
He's got a hell of a jaw.
He's got a
We're
hell
going
of
to
a
be on the next
mustache too.
Sophistical. We already recorded it. That was fun.
Yeah, so Sophistical coming soon. We're waiting for the full edit from the professor.
Spoiler
John
alert,
Schultz.
we spend the first 10 minutes of the episode talking about cold brew coffee because that's how they get down on Sophistical.
Yeah, yeah.
Fucking
Dude,
love it.
shit
It
is
is-
good.
It is bougie as shit.
Yeah, but
It's,
it's amazing.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's
No,
so
it's,
good.
it's a good episode. We talk about Turbo Kid, which Mark inspired. And we also talk about a little movie called Silent Running from 1971 or 72, which is one of the weirdest movies I've ever watched. So if anyone's interested in a
It's
weird
about
movie,
the Jamaican bobsled team.
yeah, but it like pre, when they were cool. Yeah, it's crazy. So.
While you guys were going 70s and 80s as fuck on Sophistical, I'm going to be borrowing Andy here coming up before the end of the month for Instamatic. And we're going to be going 90s as all hell. So we're going to talk about hackers.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah.
Sweet.
Strong.
Zero
I'm
cool.
preemptively excited about that.
Schnar, so Sophistical, is it in the free feed this month? Is it just for patrons? Explain.
The patron, so it will be available for all patrons this month. I think it will be in the main feed next month. We're basically going to rotate through the spin-off shows each month, and I mean, we haven't really discussed it, so yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah, so those will be going up soon on Patreon for all supporters there.
Cool. You want bougie, Mark? I was making cold brew coffee last summer with orange peels in it.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yep. Confirmed
What a pro.
bougie.
Shit's
That's pretty.
great.
What a pro.
I kind of went too far though. It's like because if you leave it for a long time, it's way too much caffeine.
Too
Way
many orange
much.
peels in the cold brew, huh?
Man, just drop my O-ring.
Just an update for
Thanks, Evan,
BGH
please.
people. So Spencer, Sophie, and I do Tweet with BGH every Friday. I don't think we're doing it this week. We might be back next week or the week after, but we are deciding what series to do now because we just finished Scream. And I have been pushing Mortal Kombat, but that's been not
How many
Accepted.
movies are there in that series?
just two, but they're great to talk
Listen,
about.
I'm all for Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
Uh,
same.
What I really want to see you guys do, since you're all kind of sort of around the same age, I'd love to see you guys do 90s stuff or like even earlier that some of you haven't seen. Like
thought
I
you were
want
talking
you
about,
to,
Critters,
I want to see you experience things
Yeah.
for the first
We
time.
were
I vote
talking
is
about
Critters
Critters or Gremlins.
Or ghouls.
Basket case.
Ghoulies would be
Ooh,
interesting.
Basket Case would be
Yeah,
fun.
Basket Case.
I want to know.
I want him to
what
see like his
Sophie-
father's movies, not his grandfather's movies.
I want to know
Casey.
what Sophie has to say about Ghoulies Go to College specifically.
Yeah, that would be
I'm
good.
into it.
Young Leo.
I think we're leaning towards Critters though, so that's probably gonna happen.
Nice.
So
Cool.
I don't think I've seen a single Critters movie. Actually.
How was Scream
I haven't
4
either.
when you texted me I was going to bed?
I figured. I was very sad.
True story.
It was great. No, we had a good turnout of people, and it was mostly just us talking about how great it was. So,
It's good. It's a good flick.
I love that movie. So
It's
I was all
about
about
as
it.
good as you could have made a Scream sequel and at that time.
absolutely great cast too. So
I will apologize for crashing you and Sophie's live tweet on Friday night with my trying to force a Scream Queens conversation on you.
Oh my gosh. No, you're totally fine. No, I'm glad. No, I'm a Scream Queens fan too, so I was glad that you had my back on that.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
You're welcome.
Cool. All right, guys. That's going to do it for that part of the show. But now, an even better part, because it's time to review Bone Tomahawk.
I was never a very good practical joker.
So do you have any regrets?
Garfield, maybe?
Hey, this is Brian O'Halloran. You might know me from such films as Clerks, Clerks 2, Brutal Massacre. You're listening to BloodyGoodHorror.com.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big breaking TV. From the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
And we're back. Since you guys know me, you know how hard it is for me not to say Boner Tomahawk because it's just rolls right off the tongue.
I like that we're getting it out there though, like as a thing. Like just get it out.
Boner Tomahawk, man. There's so many possibilities.
Get your boner.
No, definitely.
Could really just be the same movie, but with a better name. Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Speaking of great words, John, like boner,
Mm-hmm.
you're back. That means it's time for the word of the day. Thrill me, Schnars.
So I, without Joe here to bust balls, like I wasn't really too worried about it. But I went into the dictionary and I came back with mandible.
Oh,
That's
nice.
Mandible.
Mandible claw.
No, it has nothing to do with it.
Oh, it has everything to do with that.
The jaw or jawbone, especially the lower jawbone in mammals and fishes. That is the mandible. It can also be either the upper or lower parts of a bird's beak, either half of the crushing organ in an arthropod's mouth parts. I like that, mouth parts. But it actually comes from the late Latin mandare, meaning to chew.
It's like Schnars' mustache sits above his mouth parts.
Mandibula is like the chewing thing. I don't know. So mandible.
Do you ever have to do a dissection of like a cricket in science class where you got to like rip everything off and then like glue it to a piece of paper and label it?
No.
Probably.
Did I just go to a really weird school?
I did have to dissect an owl pellet and then glue the skeleton back together. That was
we did that too.
I had to dissect an earthworm. That was about it.
That's the
we
worst.
did a squid.
Like,
We did a squid.
To be a 7th grade teacher grading fucking reconstituted squirrel skeletons is like, pretty weird.
You did a really good job of boiling this frog down to its skeleton. Nice work.
I put a top
You
hat on
fucking
mine.
psychopath. I don't know. Schnars, tell me what Boner Tomahawk is about.
Oh, come on. Let's rein it back in. Bone Tomahawk.
Who directed this movie, first of all? Do we know? Is this a person?
So we should talk about that later. I did a little bit of research. I don't know, Casey, you might have had a chance to look into this a little bit because I know you saw the movie a little while ago. Let's come back to it, though. Let me give you the very basic outline because in a lot of ways it's a pretty straightforward story. You've got a couple played by Lily Simmons and Patrick Wilson. That's the O'Dwyers. And Lily or Samantha O'Dwyer, the wife, is kidnapped when this sort of band of Native Americans comes in, and really they're trying to kidnap this guy who had desecrated their burial ground, and by this guy I mean David Arquette. And
I just assume that's what he's doing at any given moment.
they're kidnapping David Arquette, but she just happens to be there sort of providing some medical services, so she gets taken along for the ride. And I'm trying to think, it was just the two of them that they kidnap, right?
The three, because there's the deputy as well, Nick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So that's right. I forgot about him.
Yeah, he plays a
so
big
yeah.
part.
Yeah, you've got these three folks get kidnapped by this Native American. I won't even call them a tribe. It's like a gang, and basically the whole movie is about Arthur O'Dwyer, Patrick Wilson, Matthew Fox, Kurt Russell, and then Richard Jenkins going on a quest to rescue these three folks who have been taken from this town. Now the catch is that this sort of Indian tribe or this Indian gang is some sort of like freak show tribe where they're inbred and super evil and super strong and just basically completely whacked out. We learn all this. We see them early in the film in sort of like a preamble sequence, and we then kind of see them throughout the rest of the movie in quick snippets. But we hear this basically in a straight exposition from like another guy who lives in the town who is a Native American but is now living in the town as like a townsperson, who's just like, yeah, they're crazy and scary and they live in this sort of wasteland.
I believe he calls them troglodytes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
Which is not politically correct, but that's what he says.
That's mean. That's
mean.
The central sort of plot is these four folks, and so Kurt Russell plays the sheriff. Richard Jenkins plays his deputy. His name's Chicory, and the joke about him is he's super old because Richard Jenkins is probably like 70 something.
Is he that old, you think? Yeah.
Probably. I mean, yeah, he's an old man, you know.
How long ago was Step Brothers? Was it like 2008 or something?
Yeah, sure. But, you know, Hollywood, they let people play different.
I'm just generally wondering.
Yeah.
68 for the record.
Okay.
Right.
So
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so and then Matthew Fox of Lost fame, and then like I don't know, maybe some other things that
Eric's gonna say it.
He's had some troubles since Lost, let's say. You can Google it. I won't get into it. It's not my business, Schnars.
You mentioned that in our sort of pre-show conversation, and I had never heard of that.
Go to Gawker.com and search his name. You'll find some quite interesting articles.
I don't want to do this, I don't think. I'm not. In fact,
listen, I'm turning over a new leaf, Schnars. I'm not here to judge. Just wanted to bring it up to educate the masses.
So that's interesting. We don't need to get into it, but yeah.
I like Casey calling me out, trying to hold it back.
I can see the smirk in your eye.
Yeah,
I'm trying, you guys. I'm trying to be a better person.
These four dudes ride off into the sort of uncharted territory to rescue mainly the wife, but also the deputy. And then, like, if David Arquette's still alive, I guess they would like kill him and then leave his dead body there. I don't know. And that's really the central action of the movie, and it's about sort of their trials and tribulations, trying to find where these folks are and then deal with them once they find them.
Okay.
So, yeah. If you want any, I can give you a little bit of backstory on the production.
How about a little bit?
Yeah. So the director is this guy S. Craig Zahler.
Mm-hmm.
It is his first directing credit. He had previously written one other horror movie in 2011, which I have not heard of, so I'm assuming is super. I don't know. Maybe it's a good movie. It certainly we didn't see it, and we were recording shows at that time. He though has been a somewhat successful, looks like, writer. So he's published like 4 or 5 novels. A couple of them were westerns. He had some sort of like he won some awards. It looked like on Wikipedia for one of the novels. I don't know. Had anybody read any of his books or had heard of him before?
Nope.
Yeah. So I mean, neither had I.
No,
But,
sir.
so he wrote the screenplay for Bone Tomahawk. He directed it, and he actually did a bunch of the music because he's also a musician in like a band. Somewhat successfully. So he's kind of like one of these jack of all trades. I think from what I gathered, just reading the Wikipedia page, it looks like he got hooked up with Kurt Russell through the books that he wrote, and that kind of led to eventually this script getting optioned.
Kurt Russell was all like, I basically look like this every day, so we might as well just make the movie.
We might as well shoot this movie.
This is my thing now.
I'm kind of just hanging out in dirty clothes anyway. So
Yeah, I mean, and just before we get into the review, I also think it's worth mentioning, like, this is listed. I was really surprised. This is listed as a $1.8 million budget. That was much less than I was expecting.
that's pretty low. I would expect it to be less, like pretty tiny though. It's a really small cast. You know, you got some effects and stuff, but
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of names in this movie. I mean, like,
well, yeah. I mean, that's of course you got to assume that they all took.
yeah,
Mega
like Richard
haircuts.
Jenkins just won, I think his first, what was it, an Emmy he won? It was like his first ever, he's been nominated a couple times, but I think he just won it this year for that HBO thing. You know, Kurt Russell's not acting a ton, but is pretty awesome.
Yes.
And then like even the folks who are kind of like wandering in to like random scenes, like the guy, Sean Young is in this.
Yes.
For like
yes.
like 3 lines. It's so weird.
Making a comeback.
Yeah.
Who knew?
knows? Sid Haig, we didn't mention.
Evan, do you know who Sean Young is?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Come on, the man's doing a film degree. He knows who Sean Young is.
I don't know. He didn't know who Jim Brewer was.
Did we mention David Arquette in this movie
yes,
briefly?
we did.
Oh, good.
Way to pay
I wasn't
attention.
paying attention.
All right. Let's get into it here. Evan, Bone Tomahawk, what'd you think?
Oh, I'm starting. So I really wanted to like it because I had heard how great it was. But I sadly did not. I thought it was, for me, pretty slow. I did one of those moments where I see you, Casey. I paused it like at one point and I saw it was only an hour into it and I was like, oh no. And you know, I like, before people jump on me, I love slow burn movies. I think if they're stylized, I can get into that. But this one was maybe too much of a Western for me that I didn't quite understand the point of it. There were a lot of things in the movie that I thought were set up to be something that just ended up not being anything. And that kind of bothers me. Mm-hmm. I thought the performances were pretty good. Richard Jenkins was great. I didn't totally get the point of Matthew Fox's character either, just with some stuff he does at one point. I didn't really understand why that was.
Yeah, the man's got to work.
I mean,
you know?
I think it's an interesting character, but like, yeah, it's set up as having larger significance in the plot, and then it's kind of like, oh, I guess that doesn't mean anything.
Sure. I mean, like I said, I think my biggest complaint would go with the writing. It's not really with anybody in the film or even the way it was shot. I think that it looks great especially for the budget that it was, and the talent that they had, but I didn't totally get why people were like, this is amazing. Not talking about here, but before I had watched it.
It's definitely got a lot of hype, which always makes it interesting kind of when you're going into it, trying to measure that, you know?
Well, it's just similar people that I know personally that said like, oh, It Follows and You're Next were just like the same retread, but they loved this. And I thought, well, it's kind of hypocritical.
Listen, if you show me a person who doesn't like It Follows, and I'll show you a serial killer.
Perfect. I'll do that right now.
That's my wife.
The worst. So good. Casey, what'd you think of Bone Tomahawk?
I loved it. To counter Evan, no, I can understand Evan's problems with it. For me, I really got sucked into it. I love the characterizations of it. Yes, it was not a very deep film going into it, but I love the Western aspect of it, building up. Not so much spaghetti Westerns. Reminded me a lot of your standard Westerns. Reminded me a lot of samurai flicks because the way that they have kind of somebody drifts in, there's a lot of dialogue and talk that builds up throughout the movie until you have one kind of big chaotic bloody mess that happens towards the end. So I got really wrapped up in those characters. I was really wrapped up in that dialogue throughout of it. It was really sucked me in. And like Richard Jenkins, I think was probably the biggest thing that pulled me into it because that dude was amazing in this movie. I think. And by the time then everything started to go nuts by the end of it, it was so over the top from what we watched for the first hour. It just kind of blew my mind. It was one of those movies. I'm desensitized to horror movies.
I'll give you this. It comes out of left field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa.
But yeah, exactly. But I'm so desensitized. And maybe it was because of the hour that we spent with not a whole lot going on as far as horror aspects and stuff going on. Once it all started going on, it actually made me like, take a step back for a second. It's like, holy shit.
I like to think of this as like an absurdist comedy. Like the first thing that happens after an hour and 10 minutes of nothing happening is they all get hit in the face with rocks. It's kind of hilarious.
Very Monty Python.
Just gonna say it. Little slapsticky. Schnars, what'd you think?
Yeah, I was kind of probably in the same boat as Evan in that I I was really hyped for this movie, and like probably too much, in retrospect. Well, definitely too much in retrospect, but even like if I were being fair to the movie, I probably should have tried to, cool my jets. I love westerns.
Okay, Grandpa.
I like I feel pretty good about horror movies, obviously. So for like horror western to come together, I mean, it's actually a pretty rare combination. And so I was really excited for it. I had not seen a trailer, but I had read a fair bit about it, at least from like the plot description and stuff. I had seen the cast, like I was really into it, and I hung with it. I think it didn't. It's not even that it's like I don't even have that big a problem with it being too long, although it definitely is too long.
It's like 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah,
that's pretty long.
Well, and I think the as a couple people have mentioned, like there's a lot of stuff that probably could have gotten cut. And to Evan's point, there's a lot of stuff that feels like it did get cut, or like they included some like. And maybe this is all budget related, right? Where you start shooting stuff and blah blah. It should still get handled in editing. Like you still like there was just a lot of threads in this that probably could have gotten left on the cutting room floor. I mean, we mentioned. I actually thought Matthew Fox was interesting,
dude. I think his acting in this movie is scary good.
Yeah.
I don't know why he just really stood out to me.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was that
dude.
good, but I thought it was fun. I thought he was good, but like you also could have removed him from the movie entirely,
or at least removed the like weird ulterior motive stuff that they insist on kind of reiterating about.
And I'll bring up something that Evan mentioned over email. I'm just gonna like steal his thunder a little bit here because when he said it fucking I like literally like had to step away from my computer and be like, God damn it, that he nailed it. Like the Patrick Wilson character in this movie has a broken leg, and it is half of the fucking movie
it's him walking
limping
around. Fucking leg, yeah.
And not just walking, literally limping, just like limping. Then he falls down. How many times was there? And maybe this was supposed to be funny. I don't know.
I'm telling you, I have this theory that like almost half the point of this movie is to show you how fucking difficult everything was in this time.
Yeah.
Like the first hour is just showing them doing mundane things very slowly because of the technology they're dealing with.
But it's just a weird movie to do that in because like why make a horror western where you like focus on the like mundane
like, oh, you got a broken leg, here's a 10-minute scene where we wrap like a crooked board around it with like some fucking cloth.
Well, no, my point was just like how many times did they play the audio effect of his leg like crunching?
Oh god, enough times.
Those Foley guys were working overtime.
There is something really specific with the leg that I want to bring up later too, but I don't want to get in front of everybody's comments yet. But I definitely want to talk about it later.
So I'll stop because I do think that the leg being broken thing, like, it's just emblematic of like there's a different way to do that makes it a better movie. So
sure,
Mark.
Yeah, so I'm kind of with Casey on this. I really like this movie.
That's just because I got mad at you for not liking something last week or two.
No, that's I didn't even get to make a comment on it last week.
Oh yeah, Mark's still alive for all the listeners. He's fine.
Yeah, I'm still alive. Car's good. It's all good. I had to run out for a car emergency, but everyone's okay. As far as this movie goes, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I thought that the payoff was worth the kind of slog in the beginning, and I would kind of argue that like there's a little bit of art to how painfully fucking slow it is for a while, and then just the like 180 it takes. I also think, and you guys might disagree with me, I think that often on the podcast like we will begrudge a movie for being too long. But a lot of the times we're not seeing movies like this in theaters. And I think that not seeing it in a theater makes you painfully aware of
the time you could be doing something else better.
Well, no, but like when you're in a theater, you're locked in.
Yeah,
you're like,
that's
you
what I'm
don't
saying.
really, you kind of lose your sense of time. And if you're watching it like on your computer, you can very easily just like mouse over it and be like, oh my God, there's a fucking hour left.
Yeah.
And I think that we kind of understate the psychological impact that has. Not that we can really like turn it around and be like, well, if I didn't watch it on my computer, I'd love it. But
no, I think that's totally valid.
I think that's just an interesting, kind of an interesting thing to think about. It's also interesting, and we can talk about this a little bit, like the proximity of this coming out to like Hateful Eight coming out, which is like maybe the movies won't be that similar, but it's like a fucking Western with like starring Kurt Russell. So on its face, it's very similar seeming.
On
So
his
this
face
is,
too.
yeah, exactly. Hey,
Beard.
but like, so that's kind of an interesting meta aspect of this. But overall, I really enjoyed it.
Schnars. Oh, you went already.
Yeah, I went.
Sorry, buddy.
I can keep talking though because I got thoughts.
I'm kind of two minds on this movie. I didn't hate it. I just want to get that out there for Casey because I know I was a little fiery in the email conversation. Love you, buddy. No, it's not terrible. It's a really just. I feel like it's a really interesting movie with a great cast filled with a bunch of really odd decisions filmmaking wise.
And that makes sense because it's a first time director.
Yeah,
right?
sure,
like that
sure.
that is what like kind
Yeah.
of brought that into.
I think that the cast is amazing. Like Kurt Russell, dude from Step Brothers, who I know I should know his name, but I don't.
Richard Jenkins.
Matthew Fox is a standout for me. He plays this really almost like psychotically like genteel character is the only way I could describe him. Like he's always like fixing his jacket and he's all prim and proper. I don't know, like something really weird about that character that I really like latch onto. The first hour and 10 minutes of this movie are baffling to me. I don't get it. Like it's definitely a minimalist film and it's minimalist on purpose. I counted one piece of music in the entire film and you almost wouldn't hear it if you weren't listening for it. But at one point when Patrick Wilson is having this moment where it's like, is he going to live or die? There's like a little tiny violin that raises in the background ever so slightly and then it goes away. No more music in the rest of the movie. It's not spaghetti Western. Like there's no snap zooms. There's no wacky, montages, no crazy shit going on. Just like these long lingering shots. But it's just when you get towards the second half and shit starts really happening, I think that contrast becomes more interesting because you have these slow, really beautiful shots of the desert mixed with this horrific, gory shit going on. Like I totally get, but I just can't get over the first hour of this movie because there is so like the important things that happen in the first hour could have easily been cut into like 20 minutes and you wouldn't have missed a thing. And I get maybe that ruins his slow burn, but the movie's 2 hours and 10 minutes. It's not like it's 90 minutes and he had to fill to get to 90. He got to 90 and just was like, fuck it. Who cares? Normal conventions. We're just going to keep going. So I don't know. This is not a bad movie. I am a little mystified by the hype. I think that it goes bananas ass crazy once it pops off. Like Evan brought up Mortal Kombat earlier. There's a straight up Mortal Kombat fatality in this movie.
Yes.
That I'm pretty sure I could see poop, if you guys know what I'm talking about. Like
yeah.
He did this.
That's
fucking detail, man. I gotta give it up for that.
That was someone's job on set was to go brush the poop on in between takes.
And I think it's worth saying too, like I'm not a huge Western guy. If I'm gonna get into a Western, it's got to be like something over the top, like Tarantino doing it, like Django Unchained, or I can't appreciate the spaghetti Western style because it's so like Technicolor and crazy and loud. This is just almost kind of a throwback to old Westerns, like before any of our times. Do you know what I mean? And I'm just not into that. So if you're into that, this is probably like one long, slow orgasm for you.
All right, but I think this is like what got me. So I'll say a couple things because I stopped myself earlier, but like I actually did end up. I would say I like this. I
have a grudging appreciation.
I don't want to like. I ended up enjoying it. I think largely I enjoyed it because, like I said, I actually really like Westerns. My problem with this as a Western is it carried all the trappings of Westerns, but I don't think it really brought any insight or sort of new thought to what a Western is, or like each Western that you watch, like it's the whole, I mean, it's not just about Western, it's really about genre. Like when you see a genre movie, like the whole, like what makes it enjoyable is the way that the genre sort of steps get taken, right? And it like fulfills that we've talked about this over the years, but like the like genre pleasure that you get comes from recognizing some familiar beats, but then also having some of those beats played with. This, like, it doesn't really hit the horror beats all that well or the Western beats all that well. And that's like the beats that it hits are like guy has a lot of facial hair and like, you know, they use guns and like they were really accurate in a lot of the Western stuff. So like I'll give them credit for that, but it doesn't like touch on a lot of the like thematic elements that make Westerns important. I mean, it touches on some, but just not in any like really insightful way.
As I said over email, it obsesses in the mundanities of everyday Western life. It's like, let's wash our shirt in a basin now and let's make breakfast. And I'm like, at some point in the first act, I'm like, fucking what is happening right now?
You know what? I wonder if maybe I just like wanted to give this movie too much credit. But one thing I said over email that I didn't mention in my like initial thoughts was that this to me kind of felt like the movie that I wanted The Green Inferno to be. In that it felt very just like straightforward, grindhousey, over the top. And I think if I already had that mindset, I was probably accepting of things that just like in a normal movie, I'd be like, oh, this is terrible. Like if we were watching Crimson Peak, you know, a lot of this shit would not be acceptable in Crimson Peak, but under the lens of like, this is like a kind of a crazy over the top grindhouse movie, I was more accepting of things that I just wouldn't accept in other movies.
I think that your point about the theater is like a really good one. I really could see myself, if I had seen this in the theater, maybe zoning into the scenery a little more in the kind of first hour and maybe enjoying that a little more. But yeah, I was like very acutely aware of my time.
Also, like, how would you react to this if you didn't know? Did you know what it was about going in? In other words, like, did you know that, like...
I knew it was a Western. I knew some crazy shit happened towards the end and that it was gory. That's literally all I knew.
Yeah, so I mean, I wonder... I knew pretty specifically, not like any, like, sort of spoilers or anything, but I do wonder how that affects it too, you know? Like,
yeah.
If I was just like...
If I went into this cold and didn't know it got real weird at the end, that I think it probably would have blown me away.
Yeah, it would have blown you away. I mean, the tone is crazy weird, right? Like you mentioned the rock thing and also people getting hit with arrows. Like it felt very kind of Monty Python to me. Like it felt like in a movie that's played dead serious, there's a lot of like physical slapstick and some of it is like just like kind of cringy violence and gore. But
that was one thing I wanted to mention really quick is I didn't read the review, but on the Wikipedia page, they mentioned they had you know how they always like pull in quotes from reviews in the like on Wikipedia movie pages. In any event, they had one from the New York Times reviewer and it was like a great mix of horror, Western and comedy. And I was kind of like, I actually thought Richard Jenkins was really funny. That's why I liked him. Like everything that he sort of does in the movie is to a certain extent,
but not really
I think,
comedy funny. It's more like break the tension funny.
Yeah, true. But I guess to Mark's point, like maybe some of the like just graphic over the top gore and like even the way some of the action is handled was meant to be funnier than I was like picking up on. I don't know.
I mean, it's just it's very I don't even know how to describe it. Like even the way that when shit starts getting crazy, the way those scenes are handled, it's very like, I don't know. It's not even played like horror. It's almost like a video game or something, like people popping out of the bushes and getting shot or like...
I actually like that aspect of it because it's so stark because of the lack of over-the-top style. It's very like stark and in your face and there's no quick cutting and you just see it happen and you're like it's a documentary or something. It's
totally.
Really
I mean,
I love the way you funneled us into it too.
Yeah, definitely.
Go ahead, Casey.
Well, I was going to say, he funneled us into it because we have this whole movie where we're building up. Then they're getting close, and they start mentioning that they're getting close, and we know that they're getting close. And so you can feel the tension starting to close in as it's getting ready to take off. But then we get to a point where even visually, they get to a point in the rock wall where there is a narrow space, and they have to separate and go in one by one to see what's going to happen. It builds the tension, so because they're funneling you into this, and all of a sudden the funnel opens up, and everything goes apeshit.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I've often said this like on the podcast that like some of the scariest shit that ever happens in movies like this is stuff that happens during the day because you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
This movie takes place almost entirely during the day.
Yeah.
So like they're just going for their leisurely Western stroll, and then people are just like either fucking shooting them with bow and arrows or like just coming after them. And
it opens up at night, right? And I think that's it.
Yeah, well,
there's the scene where they
they do sleep in the.
There's the like, do you have anybody with you? Make them light a match. There's that scene, which there's like interesting tension there.
Sid Haig is in this movie. We should mention that.
Sid Haig is 100% in this movie.
He's in the opening scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I
pretty
just
small cameo.
Can I just comment on?
No.
So Mark, like I not to like, I'm not trying to disprove your point or anything like that. I went in
Boom.
knowing
I hope
absolutely
you
nothing
are.
about the movie. I didn't know. I just knew it was a Western and that there was horror things in it, but I did not know who else was in it other than Kurt Russell. I had no idea how long it was and anything like that.
Who else
And-
matters, really?
No, and I would say like I totally agree with you on the being in a theater versus being at home, but I wasn't saying like it's just too long. Like I don't like 2-hour movies. Like I love 3-hour movies. It's just because I personally find those ones to be paced in a better way than this one was. But I think my big problem with this was that talking about Western and horror, I love spaghetti Westerns. Once Upon a Time in the West is one of my favorite movies. But I also love like The Searchers, which is way more straightforward Western. But that one even has more grand things to it, especially score and things like that. I mean, if you like Star Wars, you like The Searchers. So I just felt like this movie was trying really hard to be a Western, but then threw in things that weren't, like everyone's been saying, exactly horror, but they wanted to be horror.
I feel
And
like
there
I
was a
could
lot
even
of
argue
moments-
that this is not a horror movie.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of moments to where I thought if you wanted this to be a horror movie, you could have easily like when the people are abducted, we don't actually see that, we're just told that. And I'm like, that could have been a great scene of her like being there at night with the deputy and then these people we don't know, like the freaky
Listen,
people.
I need to see Kurt Russell's wife make breakfast for 10 minutes, okay? I don't want to see any of this action stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting, like I feel like more and more we're getting these movies that aren't, and not just because we watch whatever the fuck we want for the show, but also these movies that just don't really place themselves as genre movies, but not like the PG-13 movies that were like, these aren't horror because they're not scary. These are like movies that, like I actually kind of use the example of my parent-in-laws to be like, they'll watch thriller movies or they watch Game of Thrones or they'll watch this sort of thing. Yeah. They would watch this movie and like love the Western part of it, and then get to like all the shit at the end and be like, what the fuck? What happened?
There was poop inside that man.
Right. Well, I mean, like, now I just want to have like a sideshow where I just like show them movies and tape the reactions. Because
movies that have a hard twist at the end, they just get fucking weird.
We're not married yet, so I don't want to like totally ruin it.
It would be great too if like when you knew the twist was coming up, instead of watching the movie, you just turned and looked at them and watched them.
Yeah, but that's fascinating. Like, I'd love to. I would just love to hear a perspective from a person who is like, I would say maybe not a horror fan, but like genre tolerant, like how they would feel about a movie like this.
What was the other movie we watched recently? There was the same thing. You were saying
it was Crimson Peak.
Yeah, and my answer was only horror fans would like this, and I kind of feel that way about this movie.
Right. Well, Crimson Peak's whole deal was like, it was like kind of period piece creepiness, and then just like really violent shit out of nowhere. Yeah. So it's a similar kind of thing.
Case in point, a friend of mine that I work with, I was raving about this movie, and so he decided to watch it. He's a casual horror fan at best. He's kind of a casual movie fan at best. And his reaction coming out of it was, that movie was fucked up. That was pretty much the gist of it. So.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, can we have a brief conversation about the fucking the death whistles?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Is this a spoiler? Is this considered a spoiler? I don't know.
It's kind of a spoiler.
We'll throw the graphic up.
Not
throw it up.
It's not like germane to the outcome of the film, but
wow.
it's an interesting thing that is revealed in the movie.
Is it Jermaine Jackson?
Yeah, that's exactly.
It is.
It might be. I
must know.
So we can just talk about this. So I guess we've already sort of spoiled the fact that there is more than meets the eye with this Western. There is a kind of force. There are these people who are attacking our lovely travelers. And they're shown throughout the movie to basically have a way to signal each other, which is through this like crazy cry.
It sounds nothing like what
nailed it.
And it's this kind of like layered and otherworldly sound that comes out of them. And then there's a scene basically where what's his face, Insidious
Patrick Wilson.
Patrick Wilson kills one of these
my Insidious guy now.
Yeah, one of these people,
Rose Byrne's husband.
and rips out this part in their throat, which I'm guessing was sort of implied that it was like an implant. I don't think it was.
That was what I got from that.
Something biological. It was like an implant. And
Right.
that's what helps them make that noise. And I found that interesting because I can't remember if I sent this to you guys or if I've mentioned on the show, but I found this YouTube video about Aztec death whistles. Are you guys, did I ever tell you about this? Hold on, I'll post the link in the chat so you can
Can't
read
wait to find out.
while I'm talking
Oh,
about
snaps.
it. Archaeologists found these things from like ancient like Aztec society, and they were these whistles of different sizes that make a noise like hundreds of people screaming. And that's
Whoa.
kind of like what this
Oh yeah,
was.
they think they use it as like psychological warfare when they were coming into war.
Right. So
when they
like
were,
if
like,
one person does it, it
swooping in.
sounds like 1,000 people. And if 1,000 people do it, it sounds like 1,000,000 people. Like it's this fucking crazy.
Can you
should-
buy one of these things?
I don't know.
Holy shit.
It actually says in this write-up that the odd chances of getting your hands on a genuine are pretty slim.
I don't need to be genuine. Just 3D print that shit. It's
I bet there's some
2015.
creep on Etsy making Aztec death.
Yeah,
whistles.
that's what-
Holy
Eric
shit!
to get
Someone
it
buy
around,
me this for
blowing
Christmas.
But I just thought that was like, I just thought that was such a cool. I thought that was such a cool thing because it's like it's hinted at that these people that are attacking them are somewhat otherworldly, and then that kind of like gave it a very interesting human aspect because this thing that was like sort of monstrous about them seemed like it was like an implant that they were putting in, and so like I don't know. I think the things that I latched onto were those very deliberate things, and I'm probably just more forgiving of that beginning portion. And I think that like if they, I wouldn't say that I thought the beginning portion was even done exceedingly well, but I just was tolerant of it. And I guess that's the difference between like whether you enjoy this or not is how tolerant you are of that beginning thing. But I think things like that sort of throat thing and the effects when you get into the violence, like I felt like that stuff was all really on point, and was just kind of willing to forgive all the other shortcomings in spite of that, I guess.
Yeah, because like Mark, how Mark's latched on to some of those details and whatnot. For me, I latched onto the characters big time, and I thought the characters are really what carried me through this. A lot of the stuff that like John and Evan that you guys didn't like, I can't argue that completely. I mean, I know that there are some problems with that, but the characters built up this movie so much for me. So like Patrick Wilson and his character going through this, where Evan said, you know, you see him first with the broken leg, so you know you're going to have to watch him throughout the entire movie, hobbling and stuff like that. For me, I bought into the whole idea of this guy's wife's kidnapped and he's going to do the manly thing and do whatever he has to do to save his wife.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of rooting for him throughout the movie. I didn't have a problem. And I knew we were going to see that, but I was more rooting for him to get there than anything.
You know what killed me with Patrick Wilson's character? And like, this is going to sound like a real asshole thing to say. The like God part of his character felt so stapled on. It felt like
that was.
So
it was like he's like, oh, he also is very religious, So
Wow.
Yeah.
There's just one moment in the movie Schnorrs. I don't even know. I mean,
he stops. Hold on. He stops and goes, "This is what I've been praying for all them years.
help me now, Jesus."
Yeah. Okay. Right.
I was like,
Sorry.
what?
Yeah,
I'll give
yeah.
you that. That was pretty eye rolly.
There's this
pretty
moment where, like, Schnorrs, to your point earlier about kind of taking genre tropes and doing something else with it, this moment where I do actually think for like this fleeting kind of second, it is trying to do a little more. You know, the whole story is basically your kind of basic rote, like, chivalry hero story, like the men folk are gonna go rescue the women folk, you know. And then they get there and they get captured and fucking dudes in the desert like dying, and the wife looks over at him.
That's a good alternate title for this movie, by the way. Dudes in the desert dying.
And she's already been captured there, so they're like in cells across from each other now, and she's like, you know, that's the problem with the West. Oh, you idiots. She's like, it's not the Indians, it's not the famine, whatever, it's all the idiots everywhere. She's like, you guys are idiots. My husband's an idiot. He went on the roof. He broke his freaking leg. I thought that was like this interesting moment where for a second they're kind of subverting the trope of like, here you are, you've got these noble men like going to rescue the women, and they get there and she's like, you guys are fucking dumbasses.
I mean, it's like a half-assed attempt to attempt
yeah,
to reconcile the fact that there are no women in this movie. There are two women in this
absolutely.
movie.
It's gone in
and
2 seconds too.
And it's Kurt Russell's
There's
wife
three.
who's like looking at him while, you know.
Want me to make breakfast?
It's
Yeah,
gone-
well, he's
She's a
walking out the
fairly
door.
big actress.
How about
too,
I
if they
crack
did
these
do
eggs
anything
real
with it.
slowly?
Yeah,
Like,
she is. I
I'll
can't
leave you
remember who it
alone.
is, but
Yeah,
She is
She was,
I mean,
she was
it
in
is.
Cold Case for years. So
oh,
Oh,
yeah,
there you
yeah.
go.
You know, it's this weird thing where it's like this movie kind of feels like a throwback, but like doesn't really, like Eric said, doesn't really subvert it. Like they attempt to a little bit with dialogue, but like doesn't actually subvert it. You know, like a pretty easy concession to make, and I don't think concession's the right word because maybe that's insulting, but like at the end of the movie is to have this woman who's trapped in a cage be the person who kind of like, you know, breaks them out or whatever. That's like an easy thing you could have done, right?
Well, what would have been, this is what bugged me, just to go back to the leg. Like, this is what really bugged me about the leg. For one, I was like, I don't want to watch.
Let's talk about the leg.
Gotta talk about the leg. So I was not into the fact that I had to watch him hobble. And that's, I'm not saying I didn't like the movie.
Cripples, am I right?
But, right?
Icky.
What? Little idiot.
No, but the thing was, okay, so I heard at the beginning, she said you shouldn't have been on the roof. And I'm like, okay, so you heard it on the roof. But when David Arquette shows up and Kurt Russell shoots him in the leg and then she goes to fix it, it's very much, she has a demeanor that's like, this happens all the time. And I thought, oh, it would have been great if he had shot Patrick Wilson's leg, because Patrick Wilson wasn't like this stand-up guy and was kind of more of like the Western stereotype, you know, if we want to subvert things, is make these people not so great people and then have to have them go up against these, you know, otherworldly, you know, weirdos, and then have her kind of come out at the end as the good one. It just, like, for him to fall off the roof, I thought was really stupid and not necessary at all to the story. I mean, I just didn't really get why that was important.
He comes into the movie with a broken leg. It was very strange.
If they would have said like, oh, he got shot,
I woke up like this,
he was doing something he should have been doing in town, and she was kind of fed up with it, I would have been like, okay.
Do you think Patrick? Do you think he like read the script and was like, you know, this sounds great, but I'd love a tougher acting challenge. Like maybe could I have a broken leg?
There's
something?
Also an extended scene in the beginning. Again, the
I
beginning.
would like to live this entire.
The beginning is all about extended scenes of how things are done, and there's an extended scene of showing how Patrick Wilson negotiates making sex to his wife with a broken leg.
This is how I make griddle cakes.
Yeah. And then, like, literally we see him, like, switch positions, and it's just like, what was happening?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm always for some coitus in my movies, but it was just like a little weird.
It was like he was, like, also losing his virginity. Like, that's how that scene was set up.
But you guys, like, she was pretty bad.
Is it in?
Like, at the, like, as an actress, sorry.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. That was really bad timing. No. Like,
yeah, no, you should apologize to Eric for Eric interjecting that.
No, because you know what? Okay, I brought this up in the email, but at the very end, when Kurt Russell is, you know, I mean, the spoilers. This is spoilers right now, but when he is being attacked to the point that he is going to die, they cut to her and she's just like blinking and staring, and I'm like, this is not giving me in the moment at all. As opposed to Richard Jenkins, who I can tell is like really upset and into the moment. I just didn't really get why they couldn't give her another shot at that scene. I don't know. It just kind of took me out of it.
Yeah, they were moving
anyway,
pretty quick that day.
About this, I guess.
they were moving pretty quick that day.
Yeah.
Oh man.
A lot of like, it's like the first hour in 10 minutes is like a procedural Western.
Yeah.
This is just some Wild West shit that's happening.
And you know, apparently she wasn't good in bed. So there.
Oh. Sorry, haven't I derailed myself back there? It's my fault.
All right. Don't worry about it.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Aztec death whistle.
Boner Tomahawk. Oh, I can actually play that on the show. I mean, you guys wouldn't hear it, but is it worth it?
It's fucked up. If you guys have seen that video, have you seen that video? The guy, like, it's like a bunch of those rubber ducks at Walmart.
I'm playing it in the background.
One and it makes a duck sound and he pushes it down. And it's like hundreds of them. That's what the Aztec death whistle sounds like.
Yeah,
that's so true.
Stand by. I don't know. It's not that cool.
You look so disappointed.
I mean,
it's like
it just sounded like Silent Tears, so it definitely wasn't like it.
Have you seen
I could see
Savage's version of the duck whistle?
I could see it.
No.
He did like 600 of them in once. It was pretty good. Magnificent.
All right, one last thing we have to talk about. There is very little bone tomahawking in this movie.
Yes, thank you.
Is there even a single tomahawk in this movie? Well, yeah, there's a little
bone tomahawk.
It's a mandible.
That was John's word of the day. That was the fucking coolest. Like
throwing hawks.
Thank you, Mark.
Like I get that they have guns, but like if you kill a dude that has that particular weapon, don't you just take it and do something with it?
Just keep it for later because it's cool.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Needs to be more bone time. I mean, it comes into play later in the film in a pretty straightforward
Like
way.
if I ever get out of this, I'm gonna kill squirrels with this thing. All right, guys, would you recommend Bone Tomahawk to somebody? That's a hard word to say. Evan,
Gosh.
just go with your gut, man.
I would say.
Just go with your gut, man.
Very slight yes.
Very slight yes.
Longest deliberation over.
Sorry, like I don't. God, I don't.
Let's
know.
put it this way: would you watch it again?
No.
All right, that's all I need to know. Casey.
All right.
Very much yes.
John.
I'm gonna go very slight yes.
Thank you.
Mark.
I'm gonna go with fuck yeah. I thought it was cool.
If you really dig westerns, watch it. If you're like me and you only dig them if they're done like way crazy, I think you're gonna be disappointed in this movie. That's my opinion. So a very slight maybe. How's that? That's it for Bone Tomahawk. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
What's behind the legend?
Listen, he's under the bed!
And most terrifying of all. Come with me. What's behind the mirror?
He's here.
Candyman. You don't have to believe. Just beware.
This is Jeremy Gardner. I'm the writer, director, star of The Battery, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back. So is my dog, flapping her ears.
Shake it off. Shake it off.
Shake it off. Back in his house, bloodygoodhorror.com. Info at bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. Last week, I asked people if you were a patron and going back through back episodes to tweet us with hashtag BGH Classics with funny anecdotes, things you heard in back episodes, and listeners did not disappoint. Specifically, Izzy Adams or Lil Frank 1818 on Twitter hit us up with a bunch of them.
Lil Frank,
couple
Lil
good
Frank.
ones. This first one though is from Mexican Tony.
Of course it is.
Quote: "Oh, this is awful. Now we got to build a clone with 5 holes." Unquote. That's labeled Joe Character 2010. Please send us episode numbers because I would like a little context.
Oh my god! I have no idea what that is in reference to.
Apparently, at one point I said, "quote 187 on a hipster," unquote. BGH Classics. Another one from Izzy Adams from a movie guide. "If anyone's gonna suffer over upper male nudity, it's gonna be me."
Okay.
This was my favorite one. I vaguely have something in the back of my brain. Remember this being said. Could not tell you what it was about. But it was, quote, "loving father, thrived in sneaking." I feel like we were like, it was a epitaph for like a character, but I can't remember what it was for, what it was about, whatever. It was from the Evil Dead remake episode.
Loving father, thrived on sneaking.
And this one, and I stand by this is another one for me. Quote, "There are no wounds that can't be healed by the sweet, sweet pleasures of women's volleyball." Unquote. Eric, episode 38. I know that's a little creepy, but you know what? I'm just going to stand by that. I feel like that's
fine.
for all sexes, ages, and, creeds. It's women's volleyball. Hashtag BGH Classics. Hit us up with those. Let us know what you're hearing in the old episodes. Next up, Sean. "Hey guys, can you ask Schnars when we can get shirts in a V-neck style? I want to walk through the streets of New York City with an aggressive V-neck Viking look to scare the normies. Hashtag COD of War."
Yeah, I mean, listen, if the T-Public people can make it happen for us, that's what it's going to
just
take.
like a zip-up sweatshirt.
They have hoodies. I think we
They're
talked
not.
about it.
They're
I don't think
pullovers.
there's.
Also,
pullover
PSA,
hoodies.
Yeah.
them smalls run small. I felt like a saucy little dancer when I put on my
Yeah, so
fucking
I thought the medium
small
was
t-shirt.
going to be too big, but then as soon as I washed it, it was like perfect.
Yeah.
I thought they were supposed to be pre-shrunk.
No,
I
they're
have
not.
put mine on
Believe
yet.
me.
Thanks
sir.
for washing that medium. You said we were gonna trade the next
No,
time we saw each
It's
other.
mine now.
Yeah. Well, fuck you.
Evan, you bought the.
I'm just gonna go give my small shirt to a 10-year-old in the street.
Evan, you make sure he's not fat. It won't fit him. Evan, you bought the thin hoodie, right? You want to tell us about that?
Yeah. I bought the thin hoodie. It's like a navy blue. Let me just get it. Hold on. I'll show all the
No.
Patreon people. Sorry.
Sweet. Let's see. Next up, while Evan goes into his closet. Oh, what's in Evan's closet?
It's
He's got a
continue. This is not
Aztec
thrilling
screaming
radio.
monkey skull in there. Next up, Christian says, I listened to the Martyrs Classic episode. Pretty great discussion. After a while, Eric could not be bothered to listen to Casey's theories and dissection of various screenshots, but instead was sending naked pictures of one of the actresses to the other co-hosts. Pretty great, question mark? I was in my 20s. What do you
Oh,
want?
that's a real throwback. huh?
Also, someone recently made me aware of a shitty-looking 80s movie called Chopping Mall. I'm trying to find a cheap copy on eBay. Has anyone seen it? Can tell me if I should get my hopes up. Yes, you
Yes.
should. And I saw it late in life, having no nostalgia. Chopping Mall is fucking awesome.
I saw
it
it
is.
on like Cinemax when I was like 12.
Wow.
I swear, like it was
I
like one of those
I
like
bought that
late
shit on
night
DVD
Cinemax
when it
things.
came out. It's great.
It is bonkers.
So we will.
It's about a
we'll
killer
post-
robot that patrols a mall at night and a bunch of teens get stuck. It's like a slasher with a killer robot, basically.
We'll post Eric's address on Patreon, and then you can come borrow the DVD.
Yeah. That's from San Francisco. I just thought that was cool. San Fran.
Yeah.
Evan,
Wait.
regale us with
Yeah.
tales of your...
So here's the hoodie. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Mhm.
I'm gonna describe it. It's a hoodie, but thinner.
It's a thin hoodie. It's navy blue. You have several color options, and it's actually really comfortable. And it shrunk a little bit when I washed it. I got a large just for my height, and it fits me perfectly. So I highly recommend it. I'm sure the thicker hoodie is great too. So
You got a large because you're 7'4".
I'm 7'9", so I need this, and I also wear really long pants.
Your
so-
Chewbacca costume is life size.
It is actually. It fits me like a glove too. So thank goodness.
Oh, Evan. Info at
Evan's not
Bloody
even
Good-
getting a cut of these shirts, so that was a good salesmanship there.
Info
Hey,
at
bro.
bloodygoodhorror.com
I rep it.
is the email address. We're also on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. I'm just stalling here, Marks, until I can get these up in the video.
Yeah, we're starting with the Bone Tomahawk related tweets first, and then we've got some randos.
Yeah,
I'll call
John,
them.
you know, Eric misses you in a sexual way. I just miss you in a procedural way where you hook up the tweets and organize them.
I mean, I like to think it's deeper than that, Mark, like a spiritual thing.
I know you like to think of John deeper than that, but
yeah,
like tantric.
you have. All right,
Moving. I'm just gonna move on.
first one is from Alan. Merch. Which is your favorite bone and why? I really have no clue why I'm asking this.
I thought it was topical.
I'm just gonna pretend like I'm Kid Rock and say my favorite bone's my middle finger.
Yeah.
All my bones hurt lately, so I'm not really liking any of them very much.
You got that bonitis?
So 10 years
I
from
need a
now,
bonectomy.
we're still
is your
posting,
sciatica acting up?
with the BGH classic hashtag. It's gonna be Eric bitching about his aching bones.
It's gonna be worse in
right.
10 years. I'll tell you that right now.
Aw.
I don't even have bones anymore.
Bones, that must be nice.
How do they work?
Damn kids.
But you can stand upright and everything.
Oh,
It's like that episode of Family Guy and Peter has no bones. Throwback. It's almost Throwback Thursday. That episode of Family Guy is so old that you could be a modern day Family Guy fan and have never seen that.
It's
No,
true.
get out of here.
John, you ever met like a 14-year-old kid who's into Family Guy? You think he's seen that episode? That was like 10 years ago.
that was like pre-first.
That was like
cancellation.
15 years ago.
No.
That was OG show, John.
this just in: 15 larger than 14. All right, you guys. Are
Thank
you
you,
guys?
Mark.
Do you have a choice for favorite bone, or are we just moving?
I'm
on?
going mandible.
I'm gonna say femur.
I think that's a
Yes.
weird question, Mark.
Femur's a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't ask it.
Just saying.
Don't judge me, bro. All right,
I'm
Casey.
with Evan. I'm gonna go femur. It's club-like.
Whoa.
There you go. Ugh smash. All right, next one. Ian Gifford. Any plans to add user profiles to BGH.com? Would love to submit my own ratings and keep a watch list.
Oh, sorry, that's not Bone Tomahawk related. Screw up on my part.
Oh, John.
I'm pretty excited though. I like to call Mark out on fear. So what's your? I don't know. Do I really care what other people think of movies, Mark? I'm not sure.
We had comments on our site for a while, and that was met with mixed results.
I'll tell you what I do like: other people doing the work for us.
Honestly,
there might be something to that.
If I'm being super honest, things like user feedback on the website are very development intensive and have kind of limited results from our perspective. What we're hoping to do is add more user stuff into the app. So we're using the website as kind of, aggregate of like reviews and lists and trailers and that sort of thing. So we're going to bake in interaction anywhere, including a watch list, because that's a pretty cool idea. That stuff's probably going to end up in the app. So that's my feeling on that. And it's killer-flicks with an X.com.
The app is like Poochie. It's like the young cool kid on the block. The bloodygoodhorror.com is just like an old arthritic man.
Well,
that's
me, basically. You know what? I know that you're making a silly analogy, but that's actually pretty true because it's infinitely easier to develop stuff for the app than it is for the website. The website is just kind of like,
The app's all like, yo, bro, you got a www in your name? That's cool. Have fun with your AOL.
Oh, thank you, Eric. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so that's the answer to your question.
Sort of.
No, I think that was a great.
That was an answer. That was.
Do you want to add anything to my?
No, that's it. That's it.
All right, next one is from Mr. Stoner82. Who else wants a chicory for Christmas?
They put chicory in the coffee down in New Orleans, and it's terrible.
Oh no,
it is perfect.
No, yeah, it's no good.
What is chicory exactly? Is it a spice or something? Or?
He's an old man.
It's garbage
played by
spice.
Richard Jenkins.
It's an old man.
It's a garbage spice.
It's a garbage spice. All right.
For a garbage
Perfect.
city.
Wow. Really just,
Eric.
We've been over this before.
Really
this is not new
slowing
information. I
You
don't
were
care for New
really
Orleans.
going hard against New Orleans.
Sorry to all the
last
chicory
episode.
fans out there.
after all they've been through, you fucking monster. All right. Next one is from Lowly Ant. Listening to BGH Classics got me thinking, is being the front person of the Human Centipede really all that bad?
We had this discussion once. I mean, that's the go-to spot if you've got to be in a spot.
Yeah. The primo spot.
Any other spot is bad. Any other spot means you're getting poop in your mouth, and there's no.
Yeah,
good
at least
that
you get the
comes out of
food
that.
going in.
You just get to eat some cuttlefish and no one shits in your mouth. It's great.
Oh, duck cuttlefish.
Mr. Stoner82, if the beer for the night isn't a chicory stout, I'll be a little disappointed, not going to lie. Well, you're going to be super disappointed because there was no beer.
We can just pretend it was.
Yep. Next one is from NMS Urich. Reason to watch Bone Tomahawk, zombie Native American naked fatality plus cool Western stuff.
It really is a fatality. It actually was his tweet that made me go, yeah, that was pretty
I would
Mortal
also
Kombat.
submit that zombie Native American naked fatality is a great name for this movie.
All it's missing is like 12 rib cages and it's Mortal Kombat.
Exactly.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, like
And some techno.
they just keep coming. All of the rib cages.
Finish him.
All right, next one. Viva La Tony. Does Eric see Schnaps when he closes his eyes because he had John's face on the inside of his eyelids?
Can you do that? Is that a thing you can do?
Probably. I don't know, science and whatnot.
Sounds really uncomfortable.
I'm going to Google it.
Not because he tattooed John's face on the inside of his eyelids, just because he had John's face on the inside of his eyelids.
Yeah, that sounds like...
I mean, you could just paste pictures inside of your glasses. That would work too.
There you go.
Like if you wanted to.
Glasses. Good times.
All right, Mikey Jesus with his women's volleyball tweet. We've seen that one. Next one is from That Baseball Joe. Who would win the Coven in the Paranormal Activity movies versus the... Oh, sorry. Who would win? I'm inserting my own colon or semicolon here. The Coven in the Paranormal Activity movies versus the Last Exorcism Satanic Cult.
I'm going to go with the Coven because they seem to be... They are not bound by any rules of actual reality because it can all be retconned away. And they have an omnipotent demon being, so...
It's a strong
they're
answer.
playing the long game. They're covering like 4 decades.
Right. It is a very long game that should be probably shorter.
Yeah, the Last Exorcism group was just kind of like, yokel children, basically, right? And so I feel
Yeah,
like
but they
There's
did
some shit
conjure
that happens
like,
at the end. Yeah,
crazy-ass
there's
demon.
a conjuring that happens.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
the
really-
Coven's already got their demon running around. He just doesn't have a body.
Toby doesn't have to be conjured. He can just run around and fuck up whatever he wants.
Yeah.
He's Toby.
He does his please.
If you're in his house, you're fucked.
Do what I
his
want.
name
You are-
is Toby. All right, next one. Blue State Pod. Thanks, John. Thanks for beating me halfway.
Casey's killing me.
Blue State Pod. Can you guys rub it in Schneer's face? Can you rub
It's Shanner's.
Shanner's face in it for me this week? Hashtag fuck Duke. Hashtag eat the rich.
Yeah.
That one college team I don't care
And
about.
it's a
Beat that other
picture-
one, Schnars.
It's a
Yeah.
picture of a basketball person dunking on another basketball person.
There's the Duke
Go
guy.
sports ball.
I did not even filter that one.
Kind of looks like the Duke guy's reaching out to touch that other guy's wiener a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. I
So-
believe we can all agree. Boom shakalaka.
He's on fire.
One of the players in that game, though, I just read this morning. I watched the game but didn't see this happen. He got like either his tooth or like a part of his like braces caught on the net when he was dunking. Which sounds
Ew.
terrible.
I haven't paid attention to Duke in a while, Schnars. Is Christian Leitner still on there?
Yeah, he's still around.
Hell of a round baller.
Yeah. Yep. Sure enough.
Nice guy, too, that Christian Leitner. Everybody likes him.
I like Christian Leitner.
You would. You're the guy who watches that like 30 for 30 documentary about how everybody fucking hates Christian Leitner. You're like, I don't get it. He seems really nice to me.
Seems like a pretty good guy.
What an upstanding white fellow that guy is.
Yeah.
All right. Next one. It's from Lil Frank 1818. Slowly becoming my new favorite Twitter name because I like saying Lil Frank.
Lil Frank.
Frank.
This is Lil Frank. So was the bear in Chernobyl Diary CGI or a trained Hollywood bear?
Somebody sent me some link.
That was a BGH classic, so I think that was a quote from.
Yeah.
No,
that was when you guys were trying to fucking convince me that they like trained some bear to jump out of the closet and chase them down the hallway.
It was a real bear.
Somebody this week
I was trying to
tweeted
make
me.
hashtag bear scare a thing.
Well, listen, somebody this week tweeted me a link to some weird site claiming with like a movie fact about how it was real, but it was like the most bootleg ass looking wiki site I've ever seen, and I'm still not buying it. So I literally think they made the site just to troll me.
Yeah,
Probably.
Eric will only believe you if it's an authentic looking wiki site.
Yeah,
That's right.
If a bear runs through a room,
it
and
was
no-
like one crazy trick to whiten your teeth.
You'll never believe this bear.
You'll never play this.
Last one looks like from CKO Wusu. Did any of you catch Into the Badlands on Sunday?
I am
No,
unfamiliar
but
with
it's
what
on my
this is.
DVR. I'm excited for it.
What is
Yeah, I
this
thought it
again?
looked kind of cool. I have not seen it though.
It's some kind of post-apocalyptic samurai type thing. There's barons and they've got assassins, but it's like in a post-apocalyptic land. It looks pretty cool.
Are there bears
Into
in
the
it?
Badlands is an American television
There's
series
no
that
bears.
premiered on AMC November 15th, 2015.
AMC.
The
Beautiful.
series features a story about a warrior and a young boy who journey through a dangerous feudal land together seeking enlightenment.
I gave in and I ordered TV from the FiOS people, and it's been like a week and a half, and
One
it's
TV,
still,
please.
it's still not hooked up, and it was supposed to just be able to be done all over the phone, and now I gotta wait on Saturday for this goober to come and hook it up.
What a goober.
It's bullshit.
Got him. Evan making fun of Eric.
In my head, he was just agreeing with me.
I'm sort of agreeing and making fun of you at the same time.
That's the best.
Yeah.
You guys are the best.
I placate to everybody, so.
That's it for the Twitter.
At BG Horror, hashtag Ask BGH if you want to give us old moments or call Schnars Shanners. Either way.
Shenaners.
If you're tweeting those old classic moments, hashtag BGH Classics, please give us the episode number. John, what do we got coming up here?
The Final Girls.
Oh, so good.
This one,
It is.
people tripping over themselves to recommend this movie to us, so it better be good, folks.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I
We'll be
love Malin
tripping, is what
Ackerman.
Eric meant to say.
No, I don't. I'm sure it'll be good. I've heard nothing but good things about it, so
I'm with Evan. It's a good.
yeah.
It's just great.
Guys, we have to review the movie on the show. Let's not.
Sorry.
Final Girls, then
Would
what?
recommend.
Final
Movies.
Girls, Last
Really quick
Shift, Krampus, Hellions, and then
Schnars, quickly,
Big
give
one.
me the elevator pitch here for Patreon if someone has not joined us yet.
Patreon is the best way to support Bloody Good Horror and cool horror related shenanigans. And it just requires you make a pledge, and you'll get some cool stuff depending on where you come in there. And I don't know. I was not prepared, and I'm too tired to make an elevator
Jesus
pitch
Christ,
right
you're
now.
the business manager. Could you
Make a pledge or haze a pledge.
Could you post like daily pictures of your mustache, like exclusive selfies for the Patreon members?
I mean, I could.
Or just take it in a different place from your
I've been
normal one?
putting up weekly posts on Instagram. So I'm growing the mustache for Movember.
You're a
And-
white guy. We assume that.
Yeah, raising some money, and a shout out to Roger Bailey, who I'm pretty sure is a listener, and threw me a donation. So I appreciate that.
Oh, look at that guy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh.
Yeah, and if anyone else wants to donate, I don't know. It's mobro.co/schnars. I think that's the URL.
Wow. Chicky parm parm.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's if you join Patreon, that's how you can get all the back episodes, access to all the back classics, and also live stream us, see the video of the show, do all that kind of fun stuff. We are, as we mentioned, gonna throw out the live stream of the Year Ender show for free, so you guys can check out what you're missing. Stay tuned to our Twitter and the main site, bloodygoodhorror.com, for more details on that. I guess that's it. I guess that's going to do it, guys. That was our discussion of Bone Tomahawk. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you next week.
Adios.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.